Faithful, we are finally home. We are finally here. We know we had some news earlier today, but now we're finally here to talk about it, answer your questions, and just go full tilt on what happened today. This was a busy, busy day. Let's get the intro and get right into it, shall we? What's up? What's up? Shalonda, Kyle, Omar, everybody in the chat. What's up? How's it going, everybody? What a day. The off season is crazy. Crazy. It's only day two. It's only day two. What's up, Mark? Real Teal, LFG. It's only day two, and it's like unbelievable. Unbelievable. So what did we find out today? A lot. We talked about a little bit of Trey Lance earlier. We did talk about a little bit of Demeco Ryans and that situation. There's some more news that we haven't even got to today. Trent Williams, he didn't rule out a possibility of retirement. We got to talk. Like, there's so much to talk about. So, how are we feeling? Raul says, is Trent Williams wants to retire? It's not that, no. So, he hasn't ruled it out. He says it's a grueling season. He's not sitting there saying he wants to retire. Something to keep an eye on. He's basically saying, the season takes a toll on him. He was in a walking boot today. He's saying he hasn't ruled it out. I'm not saying that he wants to retire. That's a report. That's a whole different report. We'll get to that. But let's get to this defensive coordinator situation, because today that was the biggest news of the day. There was a lot of big news, but Demeco Ryans officially became the head coach of the Houston Texans today. I mean, a phenomenal hire. He's well-deserved. He should have got this job, and he did. He didn't want to go to the Broncos. They tried to get him several times, but he stuck with the Texans. That's his dream job. He said it was his dream job when they spoke to him today. He says his dream job. That's what he wanted. This was the team that drafted him 17 years ago. They started his career there. It was full circle. So this was a great job opportunity for him. He gets 6 years. It's a young team. And now he gets the opportunity to build his team the way he wants to do it. So it's crazy, right? That we lost him. It sucks. And now what do we do? What do we do next? Now we got to find a defensive coordinator, right? Now we got to find a defensive coordinator. There's options. The good thing is there's options. There's a lot of options. The 49ers requested permission to interview former Panthers interim head coach Steve Wilks for their expected defensive coordinator job. Well, it's not expected anymore. So Steve Wilks is definitely a guy to keep in consideration. Vic Fangio, he hasn't officially signed with the Dolphins, according to these reports. A few days ago, the NFL or Tom Pelissero, a couple of people reported him signing the biggest contract with the Dolphins, right, as a defense coordinator. It's not official. They haven't announced it. They haven't made it official. Several people like Justina Anderson and a couple other people have reported. Mike Silver yesterday said he spoke to Vic Fangio. He's waiting on the situation. Rappaport said today on Pat McAfee's show that he's waiting on the 49ers situation. And now they've requested to interview Vic Fangio. So that's big. That is big right there. And then another guy that they're trying, that they're going to look into. Let me get this guy. I think it's Chris Harris. He was a defensive coordinator, or not defensive coordinator, defensive backs coach. Sorry, the defensive backs coach for the Commanders. Yeah, Chris Harris. He used to be the Commanders DB coach right there. So those are their options. You got Chris Harris, Vic Fangio, and Steve Wilks. That's their guys. If it's up to me, again, I want Vic Fangio. He's the name. He's the bigger draw out of those three guys. He's probably going to cost a little bit more money. So it's going to come down to that. But I'm sure Jed York can pull out the money and hire the guy. So Chris Harris, definitely a solid hire there. He's a defensive back coach for the Washington. I think he's a good guy. He'd be a solid hire. And then again, Steve Wilks. But Vic Fangio, to me, he has the most experience. I think he'd be the best fit. Now, if you switch to Vic Fangio, you're going to switch the scheme a little bit. But I'm sure the other guys have their own scheme. Like every defensive coordinator is going to have the way they want to run the defense. We're not running Demeco Ryans' defense anymore. Clutch Gene, appreciate you. 49ers Raj says, hire my boy. Clutch Jeans, appreciate you. Great show. Thank you so much. At this point, it don't matter who you're going to get. You're going to change the defense somehow, some way, because you're focusing on another person's scheme. You're not running Demeco Ryans' scheme anymore. It's not going to be the same. So, I mean, Vic Fangio, to me, yes, you change it a little bit. You'd have to bring in a few different people in the personnel department. You're going to lose some players. You're going to lose some coaches. And that's just the bottom line. It's just the way it goes, right? That's how it works. Now, one thing to keep in mind now, we lose Demeco Ryans. We do get some compensatory picks. According to Pro Football Talk, the 49ers will get a 2025 third-round compensatory pick. So a future pick, 2025. Some people were a little upset about that. I don't make the rules. I'm just reporting the news. The 49ers get a 2025 third-round compensatory pick for losing Demeco Ryans. They load up on the comp picks. They got a lot of picks for a lot of years, right? They could trade these things. This year they have 11 picks. I'm sure they can trade some of these picks because they're not going to take all 11 draft picks and stick them on the roster. So definitely something to keep an eye on. And also, you got to realize Demeco's going to take some coaches. He's going to take some people with the 49ers, and they are already, within hours, the Texans are requesting to interview the 49ers passing game coordinator, Bobby Slowick, to be their offensive coordinator. So Demeco Ryans, he's taken Bobby Slowick, who's the 49ers passing game coordinator, and he's going to try to make him his offensive coordinator. So, boom, the dominoes fall. So if Kyle loses another guy, another position coach, he's going to have to hire another one. So he's going to lose Bobby Slowick, and now he's got to replace him because he's the passing game coordinator. I mean, unless you promote somebody within the company on the team. But I mean, that's another thing is you're going to lose coaches because Demeco wants to take people. That's what we said. He wants to take people that he's familiar with, he's comfortable with. He's not just going to hire people that are randos. And he's like, oh, can you coach? He'll come here. He needs people that he can trust, that he's comfortable with. He's coached with Slowick with the 49ers. Slowick's been on this team for several years. And, Demeco and him, they have a good relation, and I'm sure. And he feels comfortable. He's like, hey, you can run my offense, be my OC. That's a big step up for Slowick, who's a passing game coordinator. So it'd be a bump in pay for him. I'm sure he'd like it. Hey, you get more money. You could be an OC, get more responsibility. And he's going to the head. Houston, we're going to call him the Houston 49ers. From now on. So, Jordan Castro, now this is a good question. So, we're going to segue to this because, okay, you got Bobby Slowick. He's been on the 49ers. He's the passing game coordinator. Jordan says, Jimmy G to Houston? I mean, it makes sense, right? So, now Demeco, he's taking the passing game coordinator. Maybe they'll take Jimmy. He's a free agent. Maybe you take Jimmy. He could be a bridge veteran quarterback for you for whatever the heck you're going to do. You got to find a quarterback for the future. You got to find a franchise. But why don't you take Jimmy? You could be that guy to be the bridge, the mentor for whoever they get. He's done it before. Demeco and Jimmy have a relationship from being in the 49ers. Maybe he takes Jimmy. Maybe he does take Jimmy. That is definitely a possibility. Unless the Niners want to keep him as backup. I doubt it. But we'll see. Again, you never know. Demeco could take Jimmy Garoppolo to the Texans. It's a very viable possibility. So Jimmy says, what do I think about Derek Carr? I'm not a Derek Carr fan. I think he's going to another team. I don't think he's coming to the Niners. I just am not a big Derek Carr guy. I don't think he could get this team to the Super Bowl. The way I think about it is the 49ers are pretty much a quarterback away from a Super Bowl. If you really think about it, they needed a quarterback. Like this NFC Championship, they didn't have a quarterback in the game, basically. We need a quarterback. Do you think you got to ask yourself the question? Do you think Derek Carr can take this team to you think he can take any team to a Super Bowl? I don't think so. I don't think if the Niners added Derek Carr to their team, you win a Super Bowl. I don't. I really don't. So, 33 Band says, what's the best move to make in the offseason? The best move is to get an edge rusher to help Nick Bosa, stack that D-line in the interior. We really missed DJ Jones. It showed this year. And build that right side of the O-line. You need to build that right side of the line. You need to stack that D-line because the trenches is where we got dog walk. And I think those are the two biggest needs this offseason. Hey, Tom Brady, I wouldn't hate it. Let's get it. There's a lot of people we can get in the offseason. But first and foremost, we got to figure out this coach situation. Sports Dude says, "Are you sad?" I mean, I'm happy for Demeco. I'm a little upset we lost him, but that's the business. You know, you're going to lose a good coach like that who put in a lot of work. And last year he turned down a job with the Vikings to run it back with the 49ers, strengthen his resume, and really show the world that he could be a top flight defensive coordinator. And he has what it takes to be a really good coach in this league. And I really respect Demeco. I'm not sad. I'm just, you go through the emotions. I'm happy for him, So I think we got Smitty hopping in.
What up? Congrats on the 2023 Super Bowl appearance, gentlemen.
Congrats on the 2023 Super Bowl. We haven't won it yet. It's crazy.
The Super Bowl appearance that you guys are going to have.
Yeah. Well, 49ers have lost Demeco Ryans, Smitty. It's kind of a heartbreaking news. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that was a tough loss. I'm joking. I'm playing on Brady, by the way. I'm just playing on the Brady hype that you guys are gonna. I think you guys have a good coaching tree. That's for sure. I mean, yeah. How many head coaches are going to be produced by this coaching tree? So you guys do have that. You guys are amazing at developing coaches, man. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Who's next? Who's next? What coach are you guys going to bring in? And I'm feeling it's going to be a good coach.
So yeah, we talked about that. There's 3 options. There's Chris Harris. There's Steve Wilks from the Panthers, and there's Vic, and there's Vic Fangio. To me, obviously, Vic Fangio is the name, the big guy, the flashy guy. I think you go for Vic Fangio. I think that's the move. Yeah.
Wilks is good too. Like he did everything I thought to earn the job, and they didn't give it to him, which is weird. But I think he's good. I think Wilks is really good.
He's good. I think and again, all 3 of those guys are solid hires. Steve Wilks would be a solid hire. Chris Harris would be a solid hire, and Vic Fangio would be a solid hire. Real quick, they want to know, is Adam Peters staying? He's staying. He turned down all the interviews. Adam Peters is staying for another year, so we're good. Unless something drastic happens, I don't think he's leaving us. So we're good.
That's great. I wonder why. I wonder if he's just so happy. Like there are certain people that don't want to elevate, and you can understand why. I think a lot of people think that just because you're offered an elevation of some sort, you got to take it. Some people just love what they do. They love where they're at. So that's great for you guys. Peters.
No, 100%. He likes where he's at. His family's from Cupertino out in the Bay, so this is home for him. He's happy. He's got a good position. He's getting paid good. Why turn it down? You know what I mean? So it's a good position. Luke the Don says if we get Steve Wilks, he can bring his compensatory picks. The Niners love those comp picks. It'd be a minority hire. And if we have a good, if Steve Wilks does really good with us, and then he gets hired as a head coach, we'll get compensatory picks just like Demeco Ryans. So it's kind of if they do sign Wilks, that's another strategic move the 49ers can use in the future. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Definitely a little interesting. But the big this is what I want to talk about next. So shout out to Demeco Ryans. Happy for the boy. I'm glad that you're here because we got to talk about this. So today, Brock Purdy, he talked about his injury. He says he's still unsure what he's going to do because he's not 100%. He wants to get the UCL surgery. There's different surgery. We talked about that. He doesn't know if he wants to get a Tommy John. He's getting all his options weighed. So he's looking into that. But the big news today, Trey Lance told the media today that in 4 weeks, he will be fully cleared and he's ready to go for Trey. He's like, you could see the twinkle in his eye. You could tell he's ready. Then there was a guy in the media. I don't know who asked him the question. It was kind of a silly question. When I go Instagram, I'll play the video. But he was like, "Oh, how do you feel about all the hate and people doubting you? People say that you're not really." He was like talking all the nonsense. He was saying, and Trey just looked at him and smiled. He goes, "Hey man, I'm gonna prove myself. I want to silence the critics," and basically says, "Hey, I'm ready for the challenge."
Yeah, it's awesome news. Let me address that real quickly. I have to order my bowl real quick. Hold on. You a big Chipotle fan?
Yeah, I like Chipotle.
I've been eating a lot of Chipotle lately.
This
But until they call upon me here, I'll say I love Trey Lance. You guys know I love Trey Lance. My feelings about Trey Lance haven't changed. Hold on one second. Hi, can I get a steak bowl, white rice? But you guys have plain white rice? I think you got some back there. We're gonna go peppers. We're gonna go steak. We're gonna go. What do you get on a bowl, bro?
Don't worry about it. Just order your food.
Thank you.
I get the Keith Lee special. If you know, you know.
Okay, so as for Trey Lance, I think Trey Lance has got the advantage over Purdy. I know a lot of people are going to be all upset about that, but Purdy's got a tough road back, man. Tough road back. Even if Purdy ends up having, can I get steak? I'll get some onions and peppers. I'll take that queso cheese and a little bit of corn, and then cheese and sour cream. And then we're good. And then
We're taking a little break because Smitty's got to order his food, I guess.
no, I'm good. Pardon me.
All right, 1276.
Okay. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Smitty got the jabroni bowl over here.
All right, where were we? I'm sorry.
Okay, let's talk about Trey Lance, please.
Yeah. Hit me up. So I think he's the starter if, let's say, nothing happens. He's got all off season to work. There's no way Purdy's going to be available anytime before probably July in my mind. That's your best case scenario. And we haven't seen a quarterback go through what he's going through. No quarterback of recent memory at all I can even think of has had Tommy John surgery or this exact situation. What?
Only one quarterback has gone through what he's gone, and that's Nick Mullins. So it's not a starter.
Yeah. So like even Big Ben didn't have. A lot of people try and say Big Ben had this. He didn't. There's so many different things. And when they talk about that UCL, like they can do. There's talk about them taking the UCL, like they could try and repair it. Obviously, that would be the everybody knows that. The total reconstruction could put them so far back. There's also a procedure where they take the entire UCL out of the arm and they like do some kind of like bridge thing. Like it's a very short piece right here. And it's like, you're really going to, like it's hard to imagine that, like you're going to send a guy in, beginning of his career with something like that. I just don't know. I don't know what's gonna be in store for him. So as much as I love what Purdy did, and I'm excited about his future if he does get another shot, Trey Lance is going to be the guy that's healthy, as you just mentioned. Trey Lance is going to be working all offseason as a starter, and it's going to be hard to imagine Trey Lance. He'd have to falter, I think, for him not to be the de facto starter for week one. That's my take on it. But I do ultimately believe it will be Brady. But if it's not Brady, to me, it's Trey. I'm excited about Trey. I still think Trey could be unbelievable, and it would be a comeback story of all comeback stories. Either one would be. You guys have two amazing quarterback options, and to have both of them cheaply on still on the rookie contracts, you could focus all this extra cap on retaining and bringing in other guys. You guys are in a good spot no matter what. You just want to you just go to a Super Bowl with Brady, in my opinion, which also grooms these two young guys into being even better because they'll be sponges.
Yeah, I agree. Trey Lance definitely he's got the leg up on the situation because his injury was not as recent as Brock's, unfortunately. And you're right, he's going to be training his ass off. You could tell again today when the reporters were asking him all these silly questions. You could just say you could just tell he's like, look, I'm gonna come out here and prove all you stupid idiots wrong. Like he hears the noise, he sees all the questions. What did he tell Cam? He told Cam, he goes, yeah, I'm gonna be ready. Don't worry. He goes, so you can write all your little stories. He told somebody you guys could just write all your little stories. Like Trey's ready, man. He's ready to go out there. He's been sitting. He hasn't played all year. He's inexperienced, is what people are saying. He wants to go out there and prove himself, and I'm hyped to see him play because we were really high on Trey. We have been, me and you both. Brock Purdy did some special things, but it is an unfortunate situation. Again, he's got to mull over all the situations for him because he does have a big. This is a big decision because again, you don't just want to go in and pick the first surgery that comes to mind just because you want to get it done with fast. He's got to think about longevity, his life, his career, everything. There are different options with that UCL surgery, like you said. It could be a Tommy John. It could be as simple as just a simple repair. You go in there, or they might have to bridge. It depends on the complexity of how bad it really is damaged when they go in and look. We don't know. We're not looking at it. We're not his doctors. So they'll determine that, and that's going to dictate his rehab. And that's a long rehab, to get stability back in the arm, the strength, and to be able to grip and all that good stuff. And Brock talked about it today in his presser when he was talking to the media. He says, when you have a UCL injury, it's like baseball players. They go through this a lot. Football players, he said what you said. There's not a lot of players in football that have had this that are a quarterback that throw the ball. He goes, if you're a linebacker or a lineman or somebody that has this injury, you don't have to throw. So you can brace it, you can tape it, all that stuff, and you're not worried as much. Whereas you're a quarterback, you got to throw the ball, and it has to be stability. There has to be stability there. So it's a big, unfortunate situation for Brock. Trey's got all the opportunity in the world right now to seize the moment and take advantage of his opportunity, just like Brock Purdy did this year. He took advantage, and, man, he shined. But the only thing is 49ers still need backup quarterback situation because we showed this year quarterbacks get hurt abundantly on this team somehow, some way. Tom Brady definitely is a viable option, whether people want to hear it or not. They're going to need a veteran. But the only thing that I see in that situation, because I'm not opposed to it, again, if Brady comes, I'll be happy. I'll be hyped up. I'll be like, oh, my God, we'll be hyping it up. But the only issue I have is you have this guy, Trey Lance, who you traded up for. You invested so much. He's your number 3 pick. I know, he'd be mentored by a great guy, Tom Brady. The problem with that situation is it's just another year he doesn't get to play. He needs development. So in my mind, if they get Tom Brady, they might have to trade Trey Lance because he doesn't want to sit around. In his mind, he wants that moment to play. So I think they might trade. And if that scenario happens, I'm just throwing it out there, smoke scene, painting the screen. If Tom Brady would come to the Niners, they would trade Trey Lance, I think.
Yeah. Now the Miami Dolphins have been a good suitor for or do you think that with a quarterback, the Niners would trade Miami Mike a quarterback? Do you think that they would do that? Because if they believe in Trey enough,
Kyle has cut ties with anybody that's his coach other than Salah. He will not do Mike McDaniel. He will not throw him a ball. No.
So do you think you could trade him to the Jets?
Only person that I would see him trade to that he has ties with is Salah. I don't know how he feels about Demeco, but for a fact, he will not trade him to Mike McDaniel. He will not.
That'd be interesting. The Jets would be a potential player, but I think the Jets are a lead dog candidate for A-Rod. I believe that Tom Brady is Tom Brady's coming back, unless he can't find the exact home he wants. Like I think the Raiders, the Miami Dolphins, or the Niners would be Tom Brady's potential landing spots. Why? The weapons are there. The weapons are there.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think he would potentially step away. But I agree with you. I think Trey would ask for a trade because why would you want to sit there again? He would want to trade. He was so patient through that first rookie year. Like he earned everyone's respect. I think that Trey's patience is probably going to be run out, and I don't blame him.
Yeah. I don't blame him.
The question is, will maybe John Lynch? Like I've said the last couple of days, I have a real weird feeling that John Lynch is taken over in some ways or forcing I think things to happen from a higher level now from his perspective, like that CMC trade. I really like the way I believe John Lynch is operating. Like I was really critical on John Lynch, and I'm starting to really like the way John Lynch is doing things. I think I was critical on John Lynch because I think that maybe he didn't step in and do anything. Now he is. So I think the decisions are looking really good. So if it's up to John, I think you guys are going to have Tom Brady. If it's up to Kyle, I don't think you will. But I think that John is stepping in. John is saying, look, you are an offensive mastermind. You're a genius, but I am actually here for a reason. The Christian McCaffrey trade looked phenomenal. I'm sure Kyle was on board for some of that too. But I have a feeling that this is forced at that level. You guys have Brady. You're going to be potentially trading Trey. But the question is, can you even get enough to be worth to trade Trey? It's a business. And unfortunately for Trey, they're not going to trade him because they like him. They're going to say, hey, we gave up X amount for you. And if teams were scared enough to draft him in the top 15 because he was kind of a reach and injured, unproven, hasn't done it yet. Many years have gone by now. Is anybody going to give up like even a middle first round pick, like in this year's draft, or a potentially good future first and something like that? And that would be taking a bath on the deal overall. But who cares if you guys accept to win a championship? I think you got to at some point say we're not going to worry about tit for tat on what we did. Try and get exact value.
That point,
that's why Jimmy stayed on the wrong longest, because you tried to do this whole how can I get exactly what I'm deserving of,
Yeah, no, and I agree with that too, in a sense of they're not just gonna have to, they're not gonna go like, okay, we got to get equal value at this point. If they get to that point where if they have to trade them, they're not gonna be greedy, because we saw what they did with Jimmy. They held on for so long that there wasn't any more value, and it was like they were trying to make sure they got that pure value of what they traded for him, and they never was going to get that. So at this point, they got to take the best offer they can get. Again, I don't know if it's going to happen, and it's just smoke season, ladies and gentlemen. These are the things that are talked about. We're just letting you know, because me and City, we try to be ahead of the curve. There's going to be a lot of Tom Brady rumors, whether it happens or not, I can tell you. But I definitely think there is going to be some full court press from Brady and his camp. And again, if he doesn't come to the Niners, he'll probably retire. But he does. I don't think he wants to go out the way he did this year. He's so competitive that why do you think he's still playing at his age? He's addicted to the game of football. Like, he is addicted. He can't walk away unless he walks out on his terms. Again, Brock Purdy's injury changed everything. And actually, it's crazy, because 2 days ago, we could have made it to the Super Bowl. We wouldn't even be having any of these conversations. I remember, Smitty, I told you, I said, I don't want off season because I know what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about quarterback. Here we are talking about quarterback. So it's crazy. Brock Purdy's injury is so unfortunate. Trey Lance is here, and he's got so much going for him. But if they don't buy into Trey, like, even if Brock Purdy was going to start, I'd be pissed if I'm Trey Lance too, because you're like, okay, dude, I'm the number 3 pick. This guy, he had a hell of a season. I get it, but you traded up for me, man. So
who is to say, because we haven't seen it, who's to say Trey wouldn't have done just as good, if not better? Who's to say how much of it is the situation that, and everything, the scheme, everything all in one. Like, I'm not trying to take away what Brock Purdy did. And I even said from the beginning, win more games with Purdy over Jimmy. But it doesn't mean I don't think you'd win more games with Trey over Purdy. I just think Trey's an unproven commodity, and his ability to throw deep, he's got a cannon of an arm. I really like the intangibles, and I like both of them. I think you guys are in a good spot, but I think you've got to almost, with this UCL thing, put Purdy in the backup role and let him take it again. And if he takes it, then you really know he's the guy.
Yeah.
So if Trey's shaky and Purdy comes in, let's say like in week 4 or 5, if he's even ready, then you'll probably never look back, and Purdy will take over. But like the Tom Brady part, for people that say Tom Brady's washed and all that, like maybe he's lesser in terms of his arm strength or something, but his decision making and mind are not going anywhere. Like, and on top of that, you guys aren't some like stretch the field, just tossing, doing streak calls all the time. It's literally, you have Debo, you have Ayuk, you have Kittle, you have these weapons that are going to knife across the field, and there's zero chance Tom Brady can't make every throw that Shanahan's going to design for him. So, like, for anybody to try and act like Tom Brady, even if he lost a little bit of his ability going into this year that we can't see yet, that's going to be washed out and some by the amount of talent you're giving him. It's crazy.
I agree with that. That Tom Brady in this system, he would be like, oh God, you got Debo. He'd be great with this team. You just gotta throw it over the middle, like Jimmy Garoppolo. Throw a little slant pass, throw a little screen pass. He'd be fine with it. He doesn't have to throw that big deep pass, because this offense isn't really catered to that. If you need to, he could still throw a pretty decent ball. I mean, Trey Lance, obviously, out of all the quarterbacks, he's got that deep pass. He's got that ceiling of being a quarterback that could just rip it, grip it and rip it. That man, Trey Lance. If he can be up to his full potential, it's scary. But again, it's an unknown. We don't know what we have with Trey. And, there's going to be half the fan base that would be like, damn, that sucks if they trade him. And there's a lot of fans, unfortunately, in this fan base that just gave up on him. And they wouldn't. It's kind of weird. You know how it is. We've talked about it. It's just weird. He didn't do anything wrong. He got hurt. And people just slander him. It's crazy. Just like they slandered Brock for not being able to go in that game the other day. But now they realize it was a UCL tear, So you just got to take what everything gives us. And honestly, my take, Smitty, is whoever the heck is the quarterback next year, obviously I'm going to support him 100%. They got my unbiased 100% support. I don't care who it is. I just want to win a Super Bowl. I don't care who the quarterback is. If we win a Super Bowl, it could be Madonna for all I care. It could be Tom Brady. Yeah. It could be The Rock. It could be you, Smitty. If you're the quarterback and we win a Super Bowl, I'll be happy. I don't care.
Yeah, would. How much are you concerned about Demeco? I know you're sad or mad or a combination that he's gone, but how much are you concerned that the defense can be a top defense in the league still? Because, I mean, a lot of that had to have been him, it's still a good D, but.
Yeah, no. So, okay, to answer that, I'm not as concerned as I would have been, knowing that, okay, so a couple years back, we lost Robert Salah, and he was a really good defensive coordinator. And Kyle, he promoted Demeco, and this defense probably better in terms of productivity and in terms of what it got out of the talent. Demeco was such a good coach. He got a lot out of these guys. I'm not saying that the defense overall was I'm just saying that what he was able to get out, it might have been a little better that way. So I trust Kyle and John Lynch to put a really good defensive situation together. It may not start off as good because you get a new coach. They got to implement their schemes and get everything ready, get their personnel. But again, with the three candidates that are available right now, and who knows, it might be somebody else. But with the three candidates right now, I'm very confident that the 49ers will still have a good defensive unit. And again, they have good talent on this team. The stars that they have, you have Nick Bosa, you have Fred Warner, you have Azeez Al-Shahir, or not, Dre Greenlaw, Charvarius Ward. Like, you have some really, really good players on this defense. So I'm confident because we have a good group of players, and I think they can adapt to the situation that they're going to be in, whoever the defensive coordinator is. So that's why I'm not too concerned. It is tough to lose Demeco. It's going to be a transition. I think initially it might be a little bit challenging because he was damn good.
The other thing too, though, is like, if there's twofold here. If you get Tom Brady on roster, your defense is going to get a little bit better just by facing Tom Brady in practice. And you know what I mean? And then on top of that, like, part of me wonders, like, I know you got to kind of act now because these coaching decisions happen really, really early on. But if like, behind closed doors that Tom Brady's coming, you probably are going to pull in the best option you can find. Like, Brady's going to lure in the best, of whatever you're looking for. And the other thing too is, if you guys got Rob Gronkowski and Kittle, I mean, that's going to be crazy, bro. That's going to be so crazy. Everyone's going to act like it's dumb, right? Oh, he's washed up, blah, blah, blah. Oh, Gronk's washed up, blah, blah, blah. And then when it happens, everyone's going to complain and say you bought it, and everybody else had an opportunity to do it too, and they didn't do it. Just like everybody had a chance to trade for Christian McCaffrey, and they didn't do it. McCaffrey costed nothing, bro. You guys stole McCaffrey away. Yeah. A deal I never thought you'd do. That's why I think John was involved, and I started.
Oh, really yeah, no, 100%, Smitty. John Lynch made that move. I 100%, because it's the Stanford connection. Like, he wanted his Stanford dog. He made that happen. You could tell that was a John Lynch move. He was giddy when he announced it. Now, real quick, going back to kind of what you were saying there, I lost my train of thought.
Rock.
What was I saying? I lost my train of thought. As far as I lost my train of thought.
Coaching staff, bring in
no,
more.
No, keep talking. I'll bring it back. I had something really good.
I think that, like, everybody's gonna act like it was. It's dumb. It's not going to work. He's old. He's washed. But as soon as Brady comes in, you guys start winning and you look unstoppable. Just like everybody made fun of Tom Brady in Tampa They thought that wasn't going to work, and it worked really quickly. And everybody started complaining about it, saying that they rented Tom Brady, they rented a championship, they bought a championship. But no one said any of that when Brady was on board. So I think it's going to be the same way if you guys bring in Gronk and Brady. And Gronk is always candid about, yeah, he could come back at any moment. Like, he doesn't hide it. I mean, bro,
Took a year off, so he's probably fresh. I think that's what if he ever were to come back, he does have fresh legs. So maybe a year or two just to run it with Brady. Yeah. I don't think he will because he's not in football shape. He's lost a lot of weight. Obviously, he can get back in the gym and stuff, but it's a little different when you haven't been in football for a year. For him. But I will say that if hypothetically, if they were to make that let's just throw it out there, the mic'd up between George Kittle and Rob Gronkowski would be absolute golden. Like, can you imagine? Gronkowski is basically Kittle before Kittle was Kittle, and Kittle is Rob Gronk. Like, their personalities are so similar. That would be so funny, man. They'd probably be like two peas in a pod. Yeah, someone said Kittle is the new Gronk. Like, those two guys would be. I don't think it ever happened, but that'd be fun.
What would be the name, the something brothers? Like, people would be joking about how they're like the best.
Be like the Bash brothers from Mighty Ducks. Remember Mighty Ducks? Bash brothers?
It's happening. I don't know about Gronk part, but the Brady thing's happening. John's gonna make it happen. John's in control of those things now. My respect for John went up a ton. I admit I was not knowing the situation, but he's making decisions now, and I like him.
I tell you, John Lynch is a phenomenal GM, man. He's really good.
I would say he is now. I'd say he is.
He was a rookie a few years ago as a GM. It takes some time to learn. Yeah. But he made some rookie mistakes. He's a good GM, man.
Yeah. I think his rookie mistakes was not taking control of certain things. But now I feel like I sense he's doing that. I have no insider information on that at all. I'm just saying I sense that John is taking control.
No, well, it is a team approach. Like, they both have a lot of say in it. There's times where Kyle has a big say, and they run things by each other. But it's a good, honestly, it's a good front office and a good coach. Like, all together, they make it with John, Kyle, Adam Peters, Parag Marathe. They all get things to work together. It's a good dynamic. I think the bigger loss this offseason was Rand Carthon, the guy that went to be the GM of the Titans. I think that's kind of a big loss because he was a really good he was the developer of personnel, like player personnel. He was good. I think that's going to be a tough spot to kind of.
Before I go here, percentage chance Tom Brady's a Niner.
I knew you were going to ask me that. Percentage? I'll give you 35%.
I bet you that grows 10% a week.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a legit shot.
I'm going to say 75% chance Brady is a Niner.
Okay.
Mainly because I can't see the inner workings behind the scenes as to why that would be, the cost of everything. But the cap going up, the fact that Brady would structure it, not saying Brady would play for cheap, he wanted to be paid, but he would structure it however was needed. He'd do whatever it takes. He'd sign. They'd say, "I want you to hold Brock Purdy's hand every day in the facility, and walk him, to the cafeteria. I want you to lock arms with him, and you're going to teach him everything. He'll do whatever it takes. This guy wants this so badly. Like, just the footage of this guy walking in. I mean, he's smart too. He's planting that seed early on when he's taking photos walking around the Niners facility.
Oh yeah, 100%.
This guy's a genius. He's the GOAT for a reason.
He was planting that seed, man.
He was, bro.
He was. It's funny.
You guys are gonna love him. You guys are gonna love him. Every single hater of Tom Brady right now, you're gonna be so amped on this guy, praising his name, and for good reason. I would be too. If he came to the Cardinals, I'd just be praising his name. I would have a jersey by the morning. Everybody would do that, Raj. Everybody would do that, and there's no shame in it. And I can't wait to see you all talking Tom Brady up, but getting a taste of the GOAT, bro. That the fact that you're gonna, in my opinion, this happens. The fact that you're gonna have a piece of history in that, Tom Brady played for you guys. Tom Brady maybe wins the Super Bowl with you guys. Like, that's an awesome thing to be involved in because there's only two teams that they can say that. So, like, that's awesome, man. Your fan base is gonna be amped. You guys.
So real quick, Smitty, before we get out, let's get a question by Chris Hernandez. He says, Two young quarterbacks that are not all the way developed. Why would you bring Brady and waste the years? You want to win a Super Bowl. That's why. They've gotten so close. They've been a quarterback away from winning the Super Bowl. They are so three NFC championships in 4 years. At this point, you do what it takes to win a Super Bowl. If Tom Brady comes in for 1 year, you win a Super Bowl, you don't care. Then you go and develop your quarterbacks and try to run it back. But this team has been trying to win a Super Bowl under this regime. That's why you do it. Like, yeah, okay, you got two young quarterbacks. They want to win a Super Bowl, dude. That's it.
All right, bro. I gotta go. Appreciate you.
I agree.
Later.
Take care. Have a good one. That's why you want to win a Super Bowl. That's why you would bring it in for the chance to win a Super Bowl. That's why. We got so close. Again, you got to do something. That's probably why you would do it. That's it. Win now mode. That's it. Kenny says Ayuk would ball out with Brady like the true number one wide receiver he is. Another question: which free agents you think stay? That's a tough question. There's a lot. We did talk about free agents last night. It's a tough situation. There's going to be a lot. I know Demeco's going to take some guys. I think Azeez Al-Shahir is going to go with Demeco. I think Jimmy Ward's going to go with Demeco. It's going to be nitty gritty. He's going to take a lot of these players that are free agents. So it's tough. You got Juwan Jennings. Will he stay? Niners got to make sure they pay the right guys and bring back the right guys. It sounds like Robbie Gould wants to come back. He posted something on his Twitter. Let's run it back. Maybe they bring him back. Tabor Pepper seems to want to stay. He commented on a post yesterday. And, we'll see. It's going to be interesting. I don't know. One of the defensive ends, you got Omenahu and Samson Ebikam. You probably keep one of those guys. But Omenahu, you got to see how his legal process goes. So it's interesting. I think Emmanuel Mosley, they'll try to keep and bring him back. Demeco Ryans is going to try to take Emmanuel Mosley too. So that's going to happen. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be a very, very, very interesting situation. People, there's a lot of people that made a big stink about Brandon Ayuk liking a picture, a Giants edit of him that he liked. It's an edit. He can like an edit of him. It's a picture of him. He's going to like a picture of him. It was a pretty badass edit. I'm not going to lie to you. Doesn't mean that he wants to go to the Giants, but in this day and age of social media, we're going to look into every little detail. We're going to like a fine-tooth comb, and we're going to sit there and say, oh, he liked the picture of the Giants. He's going to the Giants. It's social media. The Niners don't always want to give, third-year a player after a third year an option or an extension. They did it last year with Debo. It was a special situation. They didn't give Nick Bosa his contract extension after his third year. They may not do the same with Brandon Ayuk. So we'll see what happens. But Brandon Ayuk also posted this to his Instagram story. And he says, basically they love to hate Niners. He's supporting the Niners. He's all about the red and gold, right? The guy, he wants to be on the Niners. I don't think he's not staying. Players are going to do whatever they want on social media. Kyle Shanahan doesn't care. Kyle Shanahan's going to make sure he keeps Brandon Ayuk. All right. Sean says Antonio Brown tweets about him in a Photoshop 49ers uniform. Exactly. Doesn't mean that. You can like stuff. If you see a picture of yourself on from another team and it looks cool, go ahead and like it. Doesn't mean he's going to go there. Look at what happened to Debo last year. Remember Debo? Oh, God. He liked the picture of him in Dallas gear. What team did he end up getting an extension from? San Francisco 49ers. It's going to be fine, guys. Brandon Ayuk will stay with the Niners. They'll give him an extension. Trust the front office. Trust this team. Trust this team. We're going to be fine. We're going to be good. They got to sign their key players. And one thing, too, I know Demeco's going to steal some players, whatever the case is. He ain't going to steal all of them. You think they want to go play on the Texans over the Niners? Niners give you a better chance to win. They were in the NFC Championship. So just remember that. Just remember that. Luke says, BA has 2 years left on his deal. Yeah, exactly. Debo only had 1 year left. Yeah, because he wasn't a first-round pick. There's a little different situation with BA versus Debo. BA was a first-rounder, so they have that fifth-year option, a little bit more leeway. Debo was on his last year, basically. So, right, 100%. It was a different situation, but also Debo, he carried this team. He really put the team on his back. I mean, you had to pay him. After his season last year, he wasn't going to play on that small rookie contract. There was no way. You had to extend him. Then they don't have to. It'd probably be wise. It probably would be wise to pay him this year, but they don't have to. So it's going to be fun, though. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a good offseason. I mean, this offseason's already been just crazy. It's been a crazy, crazy offseason already. 2 days into it. You got Trey Lance news. You got Brock Purdy news. You got Demeco Ryans. He's trying to take coaches. It's wild, man. Russell Garcia says Bosa is the priority. Yeah, he says he's not worried about his contract right now. He says he's going to be patient. He's going to worry about that later. He says he doesn't have to be the highest paid player. He's not worried about that. He says everything's going to happen when it happens. Bosa's not worried, but I'm sure the Niners know that is their major priority. That's the priority. Nick Bosa getting extension this year it has to, because if you wait and you try to get him next year, the price just goes up. So this is it. Lock him in, set the market, and go from there. They'll pay Nick Bosa this offseason. That's definitely the priority. So it's gonna be fun. Sad Niner fan says Trent Williams contemplating retirement. Well, he's not. It's basically he's not opposed to it. He's not opposed to retirement. It is frustrating to see that, but he's been in the league for a long time, and like he says, it's taken a toll on his body. Playing in this league. That's what he said. He says it takes a toll. You get beat down every day, and even today he was in a boot. He had crutches. He got a little banged up throughout this year, so he's going to take some time to ponder things. He said that he's not ruling it out, but it doesn't mean he's going to retire. I mean, it is something you got to think about. Trent Williams isn't getting any older. He's been in the league for a long time, man, and he's played his ass off through the years. It is grueling. It is a monster type of, it's just like a monster attacking your body, basically. Playing in the NFL is not easy. So it's crazy. John and Kyle press conference tomorrow. It's going to be fun. Yeah, Drunk says Trent right before the ejection, he's a dog, man. He's a dog. If he leaves, that's Bosa's money, man. If Trent Williams left, we would have some problems on that O-line. That 100%, because you don't want to think about that. Whew. Yeah, I agree with this. Just feel bad for these great players. They've been playing and they haven't gotten a ring. It's been like that for years and years. So many good players going back to the Harbaugh era, right? And even a little bit before that. We had so many amazing players. We just couldn't get that ring. I feel bad for Trent, Kittle, Debo. These guys have been working their ass off. So it's tough. It is frustrating. There's some cool news. There was a little, some positive news today. So we did get our what was it? We got some positive news here today about some players. The 49ers signed some players to reserve future contracts. You got Alex Barrett, Alfredo Gutierrez, safety Taylor Hawkins. You got offensive lineman Keith Ishmael, defensive back Quantrez Knight, wide receiver Tay Martin, wide receiver Daz Newsome, offensive lineman Jason Poe, linebacker Curtis Robinson, and offensive lineman Leroy Watson. So we definitely got some good future reserves type players. These are basically your practice squad guys, so some players that we can continue to develop. Some good names on that list. I'm glad Jason Poe is back. I liked him. I think that we got some solid guys. Taylor Hawkins, I liked him. Alex Barrett, I think that's a solid little depth guy. Alfredo Gutierrez, maybe he gets an opportunity at some point. So got some dogs in there. That's good depth for the practice squad. And all those guys are going to get a chance to battle it out in training camp and try to make this roster. So good stuff, man. Good stuff. It's overall a solid team. We're going to have a long off season. It's going to be an interesting off season. It already has been. So we'll see. It's tough to lose a guy like Demeco Ryans, but I trust this front office to put together I trust this team to put together a good replacement for Demeco Ryans, and I trust them to sign players back. So we'll see. I do think, though, my bold prediction is Demeco Ryans is going to take Aziz Al-Shahir with him, and he's going to make him his centerpiece of his defense. So Salvador said, do I think Kinlaw gets cut? It's definitely a possibility. I think there is a chance. I think they're going to give him the benefit of the doubt. They're going to really give this man every chance to prove himself and fight and compete in training camp. But if he doesn't show up and if he just doesn't look good and if he can't stay healthy through it all, they could cut him. I think there is a possibility that they cut him. So we'll see. He hasn't looked too great. He hasn't really put too much out there. I know Arik Armstead yesterday on Twitter, he kind of came to his defense and says that was his fault. But regardless if it was his fault on the play, you can't excuse the fact that Kinlaw got pushed around. But then he explained it was a technique thing. So if it's a technique thing, that tells me maybe Kinlaw still needs more time and development, which makes sense because he hasn't played much because of the injuries. So that's what it is they're going to really have to focus on making sure Kinlaw can stay healthy and develop. Because he hasn't been able to stay healthy, he hasn't been able to play, and he just looks like he's lost out there. It's unfortunate. But right now, for all intents and purposes, he just definitely doesn't look good out there. He looks like a bust, and it's unfortunate. But they're going to give him the opportunity. He was a first-round pick. I definitely think they'll give him one more last chance this season, this off season at least, to prove himself. If he doesn't show any strides throughout the off season and the training camp, then yeah, I think they'll cut him. So we'll see. Hurricane says, I wish it wasn't the off season. You and me both, brother. Oh, it's so sick. It's so sick. Oh, man. 33 says, I'm down to get Brady and go for a Super Bowl run. I'm not opposed to it. I don't hate it. J21 says, do I think we get Brady? Like I told Smitty, I think 35-40% chance maybe right now. There is a chance. I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to say there's not a chance because anything can happen in the NFL, especially with this team. Never say never because a lot of people didn't think we were going to get Christian McCaffrey, and we did. So you can't rule anything out with this team. Russell Garcia says, Jimmy Ward deserves to get paid. I agree. I think he'll go somewhere else and get paid. Niners probably won't be able to pay him as much as he wants, or it's not that they don't value him. They got a lot of people, and they want to keep that position maybe younger. They got a lot of draft picks, and they're good at developing players and drafting players, later in the draft. So I could see them going that route. It's unfortunate. He's a captain. He's a leader. He's a hell of a player. But I think that Jimmy Ward goes somewhere and gets signed for a pretty decent amount. And that's just the way I see it. It's unfortunate. Russell says, I think he ends up as a safety with Demeco. It's definitely a possibility. I know a lot of people are throwing that out there. We'll see. He's going to look for a contract. This is his last chance to go and get a contract, really, in his career. He was 32 years old. It's not like they're going to be knocking down his door for so many more years. So he wants to get a 2-year deal, maybe 3-year deal with someplace. Demeco might say, hey, come here, be my veteran. I'm going to pay you some money. So we'll see. Do I think we'll get a ring? I sure hope so. We'll see. That's it for today, I think. Covered everything. Unfortunate for the 49ers. Demeco Ryans is out. And now we have to figure out who's going to be our DC. I think we'll figure out in the next 2 days. We'll find out. Because, again, they have some interviews lined up in the next 2 to 3 days. We'll figure it out. Tomorrow, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan meet with the media. That is going to be a spicy one. That's going to be fun. So let's go. Let's go. Did I find time for the coach's comp pick? Yes, I did, Arun. So I posted on Instagram, I think on Twitter. So the 49ers will get a 3rd-round pick for Demeco Ryans in 2025. They're going to get a 2025 3rd-round compensatory pick for the Texans hiring Demeco Ryans. So, yes, we do get a comp pick for Demeco Ryans. Thanks for asking me the question so I can follow up. So Russell says, my concern is with Vic will switch to a 3 and 4. It doesn't matter. You lose a coach. The new coach you get in is going to implement their system because whoever coaches is going to be doing things a little different. Even if we hire one of the other guys, Chris Harris or Steve Wilkes, it's not like they're going to run the same defense as Demeco. You lose a guy, expect to have some change. You're going to have to change the defense, whether it's Demeco, whether it's Fangio, whoever it is. you're going to change it up a little bit. And, you know, the good thing about this team, like I told Smitty, we have a solid group of defensive players. They'll adapt. They'll figure it out. These guys have played football their whole life. Just because we're switching the defense, they're not. Fred Warner's not going to magically forget how to play football. He's not going to be like, oh, God, Vic, we're not running the same system. We're switching to a 3-4. Vic, I can't run a 3-4. Vic, Nick Bosa's going to be like, I can't rush the quarterback. We're playing the 3. No, it doesn't matter. They're good players. They'll adapt. They'll figure it out. They're grown football players. They'll figure it out and plan their whole life. It doesn't matter. So, Drew C says, do you think that Kusurk is possible to get swooped? Anything's possible at this point. Anything is possible. I wouldn't rule it out. 100% would not rule it out. It depends on the thing is, you got to really know who. Am I going live on Instagram later? Yeah. The thing with Demeco is we have to find out who he's really close to on this team, and they'll go with him, right? They'll go with him, and I think that we saw earlier, you know, the passing game coordinator, the 49ers passing game coordinator, is possibly going to be their offensive coordinator, right? So Bobby Slowick. So that tells me that he has a good relationship with Demeco. So through this process, we're going to find out who Demeco really was close with on this team, because he's taking his boys with him, and he's going to get them paid, and he's going to make them part of his coaching staff. That's what we're finding out. Who was tight with Demeco? We'll be finding out shortly. So, do I like 4-3 or 3-4? I like good players on a good defense, and that's what we have. To me, it doesn't matter what we play, as long as we play and win games and have a good defensive core of players, and that's what we have. We have Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, you know, Armstead, and Charvarius Ward, and all these dogs. They're going to be good because they have those guys. So we'll see. Terrence says, interesting take from Smitty. You know, Smitty, he's just going to throw things out there. Do I think that Gronk's coming tonight? I don't think so. It's fun to think. It's smoke season. You got to remember that. You got to remember, it's smoke season. It's all about fun, engagement. This is what it's all about. Drew says, any shot that Shanny gets an OC? No chance. There's no chance. Not over his dead body. He ain't getting OC. So we'll see. But yeah, let's talk about stuff. I'm going to go a little later live on Instagram. I got some videos. I'll play all the press conference videos. I'm sure you guys have seen them, but we'll do it all, condense it. We'll talk about Trey Lance. We'll talk about George Kittle, what he said today, Trent Williams. We'll talk about all that stuff. Stay tuned. Stay with us. Hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribing. Appreciate you guys. It's been a long, busy day for me. I'm sure it's been a long, busy day for you. And, you know, get some rest. We'll be back shortly. I'll see you live on Instagram and hopefully soon. So, love you. Arun says, do I follow the Senior Bowl? Yes, I actually got credentialed to go the last 3 years. I just can't go because I work so much. But yes, I am actually credentialed to go cover the Senior Bowl. If you don't believe me, I'll show you my credentials. I'm credentialed. I can't go because I'm stuck working for a living, and it sucks. But I will be live on Instagram a little later. Appreciate the support. Love you guys. Throwback, how you doing? Let's go.